Good morning, YouTube. Today I'm going to show you an old school Southern classic. We are going to stuff pork chops with mushrooms and thyme and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. It is crazy good. So good, so easy, and so delicious. Let's cook, y'all. We got a family to feed. All right, so we are starting with the mushrooms. And right here all I have is a cast iron skillet and a pretty generous pretty generous knob of butter over medium heat. Wow, that was not going to come out. All right, so this part is really super simple. So I'm adding about 3/4 of a white onion. You can use a whole thing, you can use half. That's just what I happen to have. Okay. And I'm adding that to the skillet, and I also have a 10-ounce package of sliced shiitake mushrooms. You could use those baby bellas, the little brown creminis, or the baby portobello mushrooms if you wanted to. You could even use buttons if that's what you got. I've got shiitakes, right? So everybody's in here, just like that. And I'm going to add a generous handful of fresh thyme, straight like that. I'm not even going to bother pulling it off the deal. And then I'm going to season pretty aggressively with kosher salt. So I'd say that's a good 2 teaspoons at least. And then finally, black pepper. I am going to come in here and find some garlic and mince up and throw that in as well. But in the meantime, I'm just going to let this sit. It's going to do its thing. I'm going to give it a stir and let everybody start to come together. I'll be back with the garlic in a minute. All right, here we go. Minced garlic, about a tablespoon or so. It's about 4 or 5 big, healthy, fat cloves. All right, now, we're giving this a stir, and just gonna let it simmer and saute and come together and blend flavors and all that jazz. Probably 10 to 15 minutes. We'll check back on it in a minute. All right, here we go. I've just stirred this a few times, just letting it go. Those mushrooms have really reduced. And I tasted this a minute ago. I would like to eat the entire pan by myself right now. I think that'd be great. Yes, I forgot to turn the dishwasher off. Dang it. All right, so we're gonna do a couple of things to this. First of all, we're cutting off the heat, okay? And then we're gonna add some Parmesan cheese. And you can see I have just the cheap old shaker cheese. Adding about 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to give it just a splash of half and half. You could use heavy cream if you wanted to. We're really just kind of making a nice thick paste. So I'd say that was maybe just a tablespoon or 2 at most. And I gave it a stir, and it's kind of all come together just like this. And I've turned the heat off because I'm going to let this come down in temperature, and I'm going to come over here and work on our pork chops. So I put the pork chops in brine this morning, and I've let them just sit all day. And I will link through to the recipe for the brine. Here we go. Here's one of them. Here's the other. This is just the same old basic pork chop brine I've used 1,000 times. I forgot to move my short case. Same thing I've used a billion times. This is a great brine. It really works just magic when you're cooking something that has a tendency to dry out, like a pork chop, especially this big fatty. So I bought these a couple days ago. These are the bone-in pork chops. They're actually 2 bones. This would be like a prime rib type situation if you were dealing with beef. And these are gorgeous. They're super delicious. But you have to kind of be careful with them because they will dry out if you are not, if you don't take a little precaution. let's see what we got here. All right, so I'm getting my other cast iron skillet, or another. I have about 6 down here. And I am putting this over here on the stove real quick. And I'm also starting the oven. I'm putting the oven at 400 degrees because we're going to start this on the stove top, but then we're going to finish it in the oven, okay? So here we go, just like this. All right, so what we have here are your bone-in pork chop, and you have bone here and bone here, and then you have this giant, thick expanse. So all you're going to do, turn it around. There. All you're going to do is take a knife and you're going to go halfway through and you're just making a pocket. Just like that, okay? And you can cut it as deep as you want. These are big pork chops. Big, 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 big. Alrighty, and so to this, ta-da! Okay, so, shoot, let me wash my hands. Hang on a second. All right, here we go. Now I have clean hands. I'm a little freaked out sometimes when I feel like my hands aren't clean. Alrighty, so here we go. Love cast iron skillets, but boy, they're heavy. All right, so on the stove, and I'll turn the camera back around here in a second so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. On the stove, I'm going to heat about a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. We use both. The butter is for flavor. The olive oil lets us have a hotter pan, okay? So we're doing a little bit of both. Now in our brine, we already had salt and black peppercorns and rosemary and garlic. And so now all of those things are kind of perfumed. I don't want to cross-contaminate that spoon into this mixture. So all of those things are kind of perfuming our pork chops from the inside. I'm setting our mushrooms over here. I don't want to put a spoon in the mushroom mixture and then touch it to the raw pork chop and then cross-contaminate the mushroom mixture, because any of the mushroom stuffing that you don't use in the pork chop, you're going to serve that on the side, right? Yes. Or just eat it all for yourself. All right, so we're using, there we go. And you're not going to get tons and tons in here, but you're going to get a good bit. Probably more than you might think. All right, there's one. Here's our other one. Let's see how our skillet's doing. You want to, you want your skillet nice and hot. Make sure your butter is foamy, and it is. There we go. How do we think that does? We think that's pretty good, huh? Okay, that's about a half of a wash. So I'm a little contaminated over here. I will fix that in a second. All right, so let's turn around, because here is our skillet. See the foamy? All right, so we are going to, here we go. All right, so our pork chops are nice and big and fat. We don't want to knock that stuffing out, so we're going to come right in there like that. I don't know if I can get both of them in this one. I may end up with a second skillet. Barely. All right, so all we're doing, boy, that's loud. All we're doing is we're gonna get these nice and golden brown on both sides, and then I'm gonna insert a thermometer into the very center part of the pork chop, and I'm gonna pop it into my 400-degree oven. But I'll come back and show you what that looks like when we get there. Okay, so here we go. Golden brown on the first side, I flip them over. Be careful when you're flipping, you don't want to lose your stuffing. And insert the probe of a meat thermometer into the thickest part to make sure that you get 140, we're going for 140 by the way. We want 140 degrees all the way through, right? So I need both hands to do this, but I've got my oven set to 400 degrees, and I'm going to pop this in to my oven and wait just until our thermometer dings. And try not to eat the rest of the mushrooms while we're doing that. Honestly, don't know if I can manage. All right, so we hit 140 degrees, and I'm looking at my clock. Let's see, how long did that take? That was right about 25 minutes in the oven after we seared it off. We've had a small disaster over here with some whipped cream, a container that hit the floor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this sit and rest. Always wanna let roasted meats rest when you pull them out of the oven. So I'm gonna let this sit and rest. We're gonna do a little cleanup back here, and then I'm gonna come back and show you how to make a pan sauce. We holler out the front door and tell Brian I'm shooting and not to yell. All right, so here's where we are. We have our pork chops, which I moved over here to a platter, and they're just resting. And then I put our skillet back on the stovetop, and we're gonna make a pan sauce. So I've got a couple tablespoons of flour, and I'm just sprinkling this in. I'm looking for a whisk. How come I can't find one? Ah, there we go. All right, so this is just the juices. Of course, it's got the little bit of olive oil and butter that we started out with way back at the beginning. And then the rest of it are the juices that escaped from the meat while they were roasting. So we're whisking in that couple tablespoons of flour, and then we're gonna give it just a hint of acid. Hi, Booney, you can come past. Hi, Levi. So we're giving it about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. You can use other kinds if you like. I happen to have this one, and I like this one. So that's what we're starting with. And then we're gonna add some chicken broth. You got homemade chicken broth? Great, go for it. I don't have any. So we're using store-bought broth. And it's okay because I said so. We're supplementing all that rich, deep flavor from the drippings, you know. That's gonna bolster our broth. And we're adding just enough. Gotta be able to taste. We're adding just enough to get a nice, thick little sauce, right? So now that will thicken fully when it comes all the way up to a boil. And here's what we look like. See, very simple. So we let that come all the way up to a boil just to make sure that we don't have any raw flour taste in there. And yum. We taste and adjust for our seasonings. Now, it doesn't need much, but it does need a little bit of salt. So I'm going to give it about a teaspoon of kosher salt and fresh black pepper. Just to make sure everything is nice all the way through. How are we doing? That's what it needed. Okay, so we're gonna put everything together, and to do that, we are going to top our pork chops with the rest of our mushroom mixture, because that stuff is too good on its own, let me tell you. And then over the top of that, let's see, over the top of that, we're gonna drizzle our pan sauce that we made. And we are ready to go. Boone is sneaking past me. He's trying to make his cup of coffee. Boone has turned into a vampire during summer vacation. He's up all night and sleeping all day. All right, here we go, guys. This is a thing of beauty. This is our gorgeous. shiitake stuffed pork chops. How about that? All right, I'm gonna taste it in a minute, but I'm actually gonna pause and get a picture first. Be right back. Okay, you don't have to whisper. Oh. You can either talk normally or not say anything.
Is it kind of a regular, like, is it video recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. So here this is this giant pork chop that I stuffed with shiitake mushrooms and onions and thyme.
Looks great.
Oh man. Daggone. Hang on.
All right.
How we doing?
Good. That's very good.
Very good.
Very good.
That's how you cook a pork chop.
That is how you cook a pork chop. Wow.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. And if you thought that video was helpful, do me a huge favor. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get a notification whenever I post a new video. And if you have a second, hop on over to Patreon and check out how to support my channel even more. Again, thanks for watching.